thanks for joining me. This is Andrew Axum with Axum Outdoor Adventures and another episode of the Slingshot RoundTable. Today, I have Tony Arledge and Glen Arledge. Now, are you guys related?
Distantly.
Yeah, you can't tell from looking at you. How have you guys been?
Good. What about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. Now, I first met you guys, I believe it was over at Joe's house, over Joe Stokes' woods course. Is that right? Was that the first time I met you guys? Okay. Did you guys make it to AIM last year? I couldn't remember if you were there or not.
No.
Okay. But you both were at Hocking Hills this year, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. And
had a great time.
Yeah, it's a good time over there. Tony was telling me that you guys live just south of Columbus, you said, I believe?
Yeah, about 30 miles.
Okay. So how far is that from Hocking Hill for you guys?
Well, this side of Hocking Hills is only like 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
So Scott Chandler is on the other side. So
okay.
It took us 45 minutes to get there.
Well, that's not bad. Yeah, it takes takes me 5 hours to get over there, but it's well worth the drive. Now, I want to know how you guys got interested in slingshots. I want to hear it from both of you, although I have a feeling the story may be related since you're father and son. So you go ahead, Glenn. Tell me how you got interested in slingshots.
Okay. Well, I got interested for my son. He about a year and a half ago, and he started showing me a slingshot that he bought. And I'd never really been into it. I had a little cheap slingshot when I was a kid, and I didn't know the proper way to shoot them or anything. In fact, when my son brought his to the house, I just grabbed a hold of it, held it out, went like that. I didn't know anything about anchor points or anything.
Right. I don't think any of us do.
Oh, okay. That's cool. And I've always liked to build things. So that kind of sparked me to build a slingshot rifle. I thought that'd be neat, so I did. And once I did that, I thought, you know what, I got to buy a slingshot. So it started out, I bought one of those $9.99 ones on Amazon.
Okay.
And, I knew nothing about frame width. And the first time I shot it, I hit a spinner dead on.
Oh, nice.
And then, after that, it was followed by 8 frame hits.
And at least it wasn't 8 knuckle hits.
Yeah. So I got to learn more about this before I break something or hurt somebody. So I learned about Simple Shot, and I just started going through their products right and left. I bought the XT first, and I learned about it, about the band taper and different pouches and stuff. And anchor points, gangster style versus upright, all that. And I started getting a little bit more accurate. Then I wasn't real happy with the XT. I went to my wife and bought me a Axiom.
Okay.
The adjustable frame.
The Ocularis one, the plug one, or
no?
Oh, the newer one. Okay.
Yeah, the adjustable where you can adjust it to different widths.
Oh, the Axiom X.
Yeah, Axiom X. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the metal one. Okay. Yeah, I've got one of those.
I've got so many of them now, I can't keep up on what they're even called or what the names are. And that one helped me discover that 90 millimeters was my right frame width.
Okay.
So then I bought the Simple Shot. Is it can't think tonight.
The Scout.
There's the Scout LT.
The LT. Okay.
Yeah. And that thing was awesome.
Yeah.
But from there, I discovered. Shoot. Oh my gosh. I can't think, but anyways, it goes on from there.
Okay. So
that's how I get into it.
Tony got you into it, basically. Then.
Yeah.
So Tony, who got you into it, or how did you discover slingshots?
So a few years ago, I started getting into the bushcraft, woodscraft kind of thing. And there's a guy actually from Southeast Ohio here named Dave Canterbury. And for a long time, he peddled it was basically a wrist rocket. I believe it was made from Daisy. And it was, I think he called it the Pocket Hunter. And I kind of looked at that for a while and I thought, well, you can shoot an arrow from that. That would be neat. And I kind of forgot about it for about a year. And then Temu, when it started getting popular, I was just messing around there. And I thought, I'm pick something up cheap. And that way, if I tear it up, I don't care. So the frame that I took down and showed him that started his obsession was maybe $7. All steel frame, probably weighs 1.5 pounds.
That you found on Temu?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it's 80 millimeters, I'd be amazed. It's small. But it was a lot of fun, and the fit and finish on it for the cost was pretty dead on. Of course, every band you ordered with it was tied wrong. But, I didn't know anything, so I took it out and shot it for a while. And then while I was messing around with that was when Dad started really getting into them. And then basically I kind of trailed off for a month or two. And then when I saw he was building that rifle, I started getting back into it. I think the next one I got was the Simple Shot bean flip.
Okay.
And I still cannot wrap my head around that frame. I don't know why. But I'm glad it didn't deter me, because from there it just kind of escalated. I think my next frame was the Torque. Yeah. And then there's just been more from there.
Yeah. Well, Simple Shot has a lot of great frames, so you can't go wrong with them. But I don't know, the bean flip, that is one of the Ocularis plug ones, right?
Yeah. It's their
so.
frame.
And I have a theory on those, and it I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I got one of the Ocularis ones, or the Axiom Ocularis, as my first frame, my first adult frame, I should say. I had wrist rockets and stuff when I was a kid, but I love that frame and I like it. I can shoot with it well now, but for me, the rounded tips were not good to learn on, and that may have been what was going on with you. I think I did better trying to learn with flat 90 millimeter tips.
It really was. And looking back on it, and Dad can even attest to this, within my first couple months of shooting, that's how different shooting the bean flip was with the rounded tips. I actually shot better through the forks than over the forks with that frame.
Did you? Okay.
I had more frame hits over the forks than through.
Now, do you shoot OTT or TTF now, or both?
Almost exclusively OTT.
Okay, me too.
I have one frame that I'll kind of dabble with. It's the Wasp Enzo.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite frames, the Wasp Enzo.
Yeah, it's almost perfect.
So, Tony, what about you? Or Glenn, I'm sorry, what about you? Do you shoot OTT or TTF?
First of all, Wasp is my go-to frame now. I can't believe I drew a blank on the name of it. On Omega's site, just too busy of a day. But yeah, OTT. Now I shot through the forks for a while, but you start shooting clay and stuff, and things change. I like shooting clay in the summertime.
Yeah, but, I like to shoot clay. I don't really shoot TTF, but every once in a while I'll just get bored and be like, oh, I'm going to band up something TTF and go out there and see what I can do. And I never do anything, but
yeah. I went through the different Wasp frames, Enzo, Wolf. I really like the Wolf.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Apex Plus.
I don't have an Apex. I have several Enzos. I really like those. Have a Wolf, a Delta Wing, Tomahawk. I've got quite a few Wasp. I really like them. They make some good frames. So that's how you guys got into the sport. But now I know the first time I met you guys was down at Joe's house, and I want to say that was last August, maybe. That sound right?
Yeah, it wasn't long before the Hawking Hills.
Okay, yeah, Hawking Hills was in September, so I think it was August, maybe. Now, how did you guys get introduced into the community? Was it social media, or did you know the guys in that area? Because I know a lot of those guys live over near you there. So did you know somebody, or how'd you get hooked up with those guys?
Facebook.
Just Facebook? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's how I met Joe. Well, that's how Joe and I started contacting each other. And actually, his daughter was going to college here in the town I lived in, and he was over here picking her up one day and came over and shot with me a little bit in the backyard. But yeah, as a result, I have met quite a few of you Ohio boys over there, and
Yeah,
some of the guys from that area, and become friends with you. And so it's neat how the sport kind of brings everybody together. I never would have met you guys otherwise, you know.
absolutely. Joe's a super nice guy. He sent me a friend request and I answered it. And he said, "I see that you live in South Central Ohio," and he invited me to
the thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's Joe really does a lot for the sport. He's a great ambassador. You know, he puts a lot of time and effort and his own money into it, having those get-togethers over there for us, which really kind of, I mean, now that you've experienced the tournament, you know how much fun that is. But going over to Joe's kind of gives me that fix in between tournaments where you get together and have fellowship and go out and shoot. And so I really appreciate what all he does for the community.
Yeah, that was nice. I'm not really that type of person that'll get in with a bunch of new people I've never met before. And, you know, if it hadn't been for Tony, I don't think I would have had second thoughts about just showing up myself, you know, and trying to introduce myself and talk and fit in and all that. But
yeah, well,
yeah, everybody was nice.
Yeah, it's a great community, and I'm kind of like that. I kind of mentioned it on a recent video here, chatting with somebody. I don't really think I'm a people person, but with this community, it's different because we all have something in common, and I've really not encountered anybody that wasn't willing to help you, or you know, try to help you improve, or just like Joe, you know, put on an event so we can come down and have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, your buddy from Liberty Slings, he's a real super nice guy. And the guy from Oxford, Ohio, I'm not quite sure about him yet, but
who's that? Adam? Oh.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Everybody was really nice.
Yeah, Adam's a good guy. Everybody likes to give Adam a hard time for some reason. I think he's just got that. He takes abuse well.
Yeah.
But well, Tony or Glenn, I hope this is okay to bring up, and I think it is because we kind of touched on it before. But you talked about you know, having a hard time getting maybe out of your shell and meeting people, and that's something I've dealt with quite a bit as well. But you got a diagnosis recently, I guess. I guess that's how you phrase it. I don't know. Would you like to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. I just turned 60 November 25th. And 5 days before that, I was diagnosed with autism. I basically went on my life. I always thought that I was different from people. Never really fit in, although I constantly put myself out there. Certain things, you know, that would bothers autistic people is like sensory issues, noise, smells, bright lights, different things. But it went on. It really affected me in my business. I ran a kitchen cabinet and countertop business for quite a while. And people always loved my work. But man, my people skills just sucked. You know, I could have went so much further in life if I could have just talked to people more easily, you know.
Had that social game, yeah.
Absolutely. Even when it came to like making phone calls, I didn't really notice it until my wife started working at home, working here in this office, my office, and during COVID. And she got to watching me, and she worked with quite a few people on the spectrum. And she got to noticing if I had to make a phone call, how I would just prance and put it off, procrastinate, and the slightest little things will throw me off focus. Multitasking, I suck at multitasking. If I'm working on a project and I have to stop and do something else, that is just about impossible to me. I'm the type of person, once I get going, I have to stay on that task, because if I drift off and do something else, my attention is going to be on what I was doing before. So I just always had those issues, and
which is really weird, because having worked with you through high school, I never noticed that.
Now, was that sarcasm, Tony?
I lived, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask Tony, because I seen you up there kind of chuckling a couple times when he said things. So I guess you kind of noticed some of these things before.
It's funny what you notice in hindsight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, when it's not like I paid attention to every phone call he ever made, but looking back now, I mean, I even notice myself doing some of the same things that he does. I don't like being on the phone. It's awkward.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, hindsight, it's 2020.
It adds up.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, since your diagnosis, I mean, Tony's saying it kind of adds up. I'm guessing you probably feel the same way. Like, you look back, and there's probably a little bit of a relief to you, isn't it, to kind of have an answer?
It's an absolutely relief. I mean, if I, and then probably you also, was raised in an era where autism, people knew nothing about it.
Right.
Still to this day, they're still learning about it. But,
right.
I was just labeled as being nervous, fidgety, shy. But it really slowed me down in school, because if it was a subject that I had no interest in at all, I was just basically left behind,
Yeah.
But it's not easy,
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful I'm the type that's not really disabled by it. There are a lot of people out there that are affected worse.
Yeah. Well, and it's a spectrum. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's everybody's going to be different, but yeah, it's great that you kind of have some answers and things. So going along with Slingshots, I think you and I kind of messaged back and forth a little bit about this, but have you found Slingshots to be a good outlet for some of the things that you deal with that?
Absolutely. People on the spectrum, almost every person, because like I said, was talking about spectrum. People are affected so much different, but most people on the spectrum have what they call a special interest.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just dive into it head first, and just, if you don't control it, you go talk to somebody that knows nothing about slingshots, you'll just keep on talking and talking about it, and they'll think, I know nothing. Why don't you just shut up? But that's just how it works. I mean, it really helped me. You get so much nervous energy built up, just from all your sensory issues, and it's just like a way of grounding yourself. You can let go of that into a special interest like slingshots, and
well, I think therapeutic. I think Slingshots is therapeutic for everybody, really. I mean, it kind of helps you live in the moment, be more present in what you're doing, which kind of goes back to what you were talking about, multitasking, and you can't switch gears to another thought when you're on one train of thought. And I think that's one good thing about Slingshots, is it kind of slows you down and teaches you not to do that, just to kind of pay attention to what you're doing,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also, along those lines of the special interest in you talking, like you said, talking about it over and over to people who may not know anything about it. I would think that has to be another great thing about finding the community, is you have a lot of people who share your interest. I know for me, not even being on the spectrum, it's kind of an obsession for me, and I have the same thing. It's hard to talk about with other people because it's just not, it's not a mainstream hobby or sport. But that's been refreshing to me to find the community and find some other people that you don't drive nuts by talking about it with.
Absolutely. Like the lady that did my autism assessment, she asked me if I had any special interest, and I said I didn't want to feel like a kid saying it. It was kind of awkward. I said slingshots, and she gave me a funny look. Slingshots, you shoot. And I said, okay. I said, yeah, I've been to a couple tournaments, and said, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, nobody does.
Sure is.
Yeah, I've had that same. Actually, had that almost that same conversation. I was at my doctor's visit, and my doctor, he's an older gentleman, and I don't know how we got on the subject of it, but we started talking about slingshots, and then he mentioned a squirrel problem he had at home, and then I seen the wheels start turning in his eyes. He said, "You mean I could hit those things with a slingshot?" So I don't know if Doc ever bought a slingshot or not, but he was interested in it for a while.
Yeah.
But Tony, have you? I guess we kind of already touched on it. It kind of maybe answered some questions for you about things you'd seen over the years, though. But have you noticed your dad like the slingshots kind of helping him with his focus and stuff? Or
yeah, I've noticed that quite a bit, and I've actually noticed in the community. You said it earlier, but I'll say it a little bit more. It's the community, the slingshot community is kind of unreal. It's I'm a gun guy. I have a few guns, not a lot, but I have a special interest in older military rifles and things like that.
Okay.
But the gun culture can be very overbearing.
Okay.
And it's hard to enjoy it, especially if you have any kind of, drawbacks about crowds or bunches of people or
sure.
Yeah, people that just it's a very high strung community in some places. But I've noticed that since we got into this, it's everyone. It's just completely different types of people from all over the place. And
they come together for a special interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. It's you can't pinpoint one stereotypical slingshot shooter. We're all different. We're all weird in our own way, and that's what I love about it is it's an eclectic bunch. But
yeah, I mean it's like Dave Longworth and Adam Cantrell, they reminded me of some family that we have in Kentucky that when I was a kid, I just remember that they would say, come on in, get something to eat, sit down, take your shoes off. They just have to care about them. When we were in the Hocking Hill slingshot tournament, Cool Hand Luke, his father was there. He couldn't make it, but his father did. Yeah. Just came up. I mean, me and Dad had probably a 20-minute conversation with him. Never met him before in my life.
Oh, Larry and Luke are some of the greatest people. And just the whole community, like you said. Yeah.
And I think that's been I know it's been healthy and helpful for me. And I'm almost certain Dad feels the same way.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out there and assert yourself into a crowd, but when it's a crowd as pleasant and easy to be around as the slingshot community, that just takes all the load off.
Absolutely. And that's kind of why I wanted to start doing these chat videos is to kind of highlight the slingshot community. The people that go to the tournaments, but not just those, just the whole community in general, because I think it's the greatest asset that we have. And it can help so many people. And that's kind of why I was interested in having you, Glenn, come on and talk about your diagnosis and how it's helped you. And Tony, I wanted you here just because I was interested in talking to both of you, but I've mentioned it a few times before on some other videos, but I struggled for a long time with alcohol, and it wasn't. I didn't quit drinking after I found Slingshots, but the reason I drank in the first place was because I suffered from anxiety mostly. I would get depressed sometimes from being anxious all the time, but I realized that it was an anxiety thing, which I actually do get. I am on medicine for now, and it's helped me a lot. But the slingshot community, or the slingshot sport, I should say, just really helped with my anxiety. It helped me to go out in the backyard and just focus on one thing at a time and kind of focus on what I was doing instead of letting my mind be somewhere else worried about my problems. And so it's brought me so much help, the sport in general and the community, that I just want to help other people, understand the draw, the appeal to the slingshot community. And I think you talking about your diagnosis, Glenn, will help maybe other people that are on the spectrum get involved in the sport, or maybe somebody that's not on the spectrum or hasn't been diagnosed. You go seek that out and maybe get some answers to questions they have,
Absolutely. The anxiety thing that goes hand in hand with autism, just like you, and it really helps. I mean, the world's crazy these days,
Sure.
It's loud. Last few years, you hear everybody's opinion and you basically don't give a shit.
Nope.
So it's good to just have a way to escape.
Absolutely.
And also, I mean, Tony was talking there, but with the autism, I'm not really the most talkative guy unless I can get on a roll, get on a subject. I mean, he's my son. I love him. But I'm a quiet guy, and he can attest to that. Sometimes I just don't have anything to say.
Right.
I was that way with my dad as I got in my teenage years. I thought, I don't know what to say to this guy anymore. I love him, but I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
But the slingshots kind of pulled us back together and actually gave us something to communicate about,
That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I used to shoot compound bows and stuff, and he got into it a little bit. But I really got him into handguns and stuff like that. Of course, that was at the time one of my special interests, but that stuff's just too expensive.
Yeah.
We'd go to gun shows constantly. Anytime there was a big gun show, we'd go. And it's nothing like slingshots. It's
so
more peaceful.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been involved in the gun community to an extent, and I enjoy shooting firearms and stuff. But yeah, I know what you mean. The community's just a little less intense in the slingshot community. But yeah, it's great that it's not only helped you with some of your focus and your special interests and stuff, but also your relationship with your son.
Yeah,
and I think that there's a lot of families that could benefit. I've seen some families at Hocking Hill. Unfortunately, I haven't got to talk to all of them, but some families that brought quite a few kids there. And I just think that's such a great thing to see them with their kids there instead of their kids with a Game Boy or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever they're calling it these days, in their hand. They're outside getting fresh air and enjoying things as a family. I think that's really important.
I mean, his wife shoots, and I got my wife to shooting, and she's not as much of an outdoor person as me. Of course, that's why we get along. We're kind of different in ways, but we've got together before, and we all sat on his front porch and shot slingshots.
Well, that's excellent. Are you going to get them to Hocking Hills next year?
Oh, we'll see.
No, it's not that far of a drive. You already told us that.
I know.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I have had a great time talking to you guys tonight. And I didn't even ask, do you guys have any social media or anything you want to plug while you're on here?
No.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure. I can't keep track of who all has it anymore and who doesn't, but it's been a great time talking to you guys, and I appreciate you coming on and talking with me. And Glenn, Tony was telling me you guys, I did add you to that other Zoom group, didn't I? The Axum Outdoors one. I thought I did. The group where I've been sending out the codes. Maybe you're not on there. I'll have to go back and double check. Okay. Well, I'll double check because I thought I put both of you on there, but I will put those on there so that you get the codes to these whenever we do them. Now, I didn't send the code out tonight because we're doing it at a little different time than we normally do, so I didn't think there'd be very many people available. And like I was telling Tony, I just kind of wanted to snag you guys and talk myself for a little bit to you because I had questions and stuff. But I'll put you on there so that feel free to jump in anytime we do one of those group ones. That's why I put him out there. So that
I'll have my wife give me more Zoom training. I won't be so late.
Well, that's fine. No, you probably shouldn't have any problem now that you got it set up. You can just plug the number in and we'll be ready to go. But all right, gentlemen, it has been great talking to both of you. And we'll get you back on here on another one whenever we have more people and we'll all yak at each other.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fun.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And you guys have a good rest of your day and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care, guys.
Mm-hmm.